Welcome back. I am Mr. JDM, and in today's video we're going to wrap up all the wiring in the engine bay and get the fuse box mounted under the dash. We're going to wrap up all the wiring, hopefully minus the engine harness. This may take a couple days, but I'm going to pack it all into this video. Hopefully it's not too long, but I need to get this done, and that way I can start cleaning the engine and get that thing dropped in. Also, if you like my videos, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit the bell notification. I would really appreciate it. Thank you. And just so you all know, I am not a mechanic. Everything I've learned is from by doing, or my dad. My dad and I did all kinds of mechanical work, and then, you know, work around the house. We worked on the AC, the plumbing, the electrical, and cars. So this is all knowledge that has just been taught to me and by doing. So, you know, I'm no mechanic, I'm no professional. I'm just not afraid to get in there and do it. So if this is something you want to attempt, you know, don't attempt it, do it. Because once you get in there and you start messing around, you're gonna figure it out. It's really not that difficult. You know, every wire goes to a certain plug, a certain spot. As long as you don't cut them, you know, you're fine. And if you do cut them, you could solder in a new wire. Not a big deal. So don't be afraid to just get in there and do it. If you have any problems with your car, regardless of what it is, please join the Mr. JDM Facebook group. You know, that's what it's there for. Post your questions and I will do my best to answer it, or maybe one of the other members will too. So we left off with the distributor plug. We need to get all that wiring shoved into the engine bay, or into the under the dash, and then get the relay connected. We did depin the relay plug, so we need to get all that back together and get it all mounted under the dash. Alright, so we got all the wires from the relay taped up together. We're going to push them through. Alright, now we need to push all this back up in there and reset it all. Alright, now we have our two plugs for our main harness, or our engine harness. Actually 3 plugs for the engine harness. We have our map sensor. This goes to the wiper motor, and we need to finish looming and wrapping this. This goes to the distributor. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, and then we'll finish looming all of this, and we'll be done with the engine bay. We got the distributor loomed and we got that taped up. Now we're going to get this on there and then tape it up, make it look nice, and the engine bay will be pretty much done. We just need to get the little the eye connector thing so we can ground the wiper motor, and that should be it. After this, we will be on the inside. All right, we got the harness all loomed up, and after looking at it, it's way too long. It should have been, this should be down here, but I'm not going to undo it. I'm just going to shorten the engine harness, because at this point that would be the easiest thing to do. It'll probably be stuffed back here anyway, so it's not going to be that big of a deal. Stuff it back here and nobody's going to be able to see it. It'll be under the intake manifold. It is what it is. Alright, now let's do the inside wiring and we can wrap it all up. Okay, so the ECU lives right there. This is going to live, I don't know, somewhere up here. I don't really like that though, so I'm gonna have to figure out a place for that. One thing cool that I noticed is it's got a W for white, a WB for white black, and a WR for white red. That would be these. So it's pretty nice that that's already labeled. Alright, now as far as the other side, this first one will go to the battery. So I'm gonna tap into the battery line because the battery is relocated to the trunk. And then this one goes to, it's this right here. And so I'm gonna have to extend this or make a clip that goes through the engine bay just for this one wire. But that's no big deal, easy to do. We will deal with that once we get to that point. So I'm gonna figure out where this thing is gonna live, and we will be right back. All right, so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna loom all these, and the fuse box is gonna live right there. I'm gonna have to figure out some kind of way to mount it and then loom the wires. That way they tuck up behind the carpet. But right now we're gonna do this relay that we depinned. We need to get that put in. And then there's also this ground wire that we need to find a ground for. So we're gonna connect that back up and figure out the ground wire and mount the relay up underneath here somewhere. I'm looking at my last video here. That way I can remember where the wires go in the connector. All right, so we got this all taped up and we got a relay back together, and the ground, I think I'm gonna just ground it to the top bolt here, but I need to take a trip to Harbor Freight because the loom I have is like way too thin. There's no way that would fit inside this. And then plus I need to get some of those the eye connector pieces, one for here and one for the windshield wiper motor. All right, so once I get this wire loomed, then it'll look really nice, and it won't be all, you know, you won't be able to see it. I mean, you can see it, but it won't be visible, I guess you can say. That's just gonna live up there. But now we're gonna work on getting these two wires connected. The one wire I'm going to tap into this, which is the wire that goes to the battery for the battery relocation, and this is the wire I'm going to use. I'm just going to tap into here, and then we'll connect it into the box. I hope that makes sense. So this is the original wire. This goes to the starter, and then this one goes up to the fuse box, and then this part connects to the battery. So that's how it's originally set. So that's why I'm going to just tap into the wire that goes to the battery on the inside. I am going to solder this, and I'm going to attempt to put some shrink wrap on it. I've got this big piece of shrink wrap, and I'm going to try to push it all the way through there. Okay, I was able to get the shrink wrap on there. I pulled it down through here, and I removed this and I put it back. We're going to solder that up there now. What do I do with my solder? Going to wrap the solder around it. Put a little piece of cardboard behind it, that way I don't drop any solder onto the carpet. Now let's start soldering. All right, I think we're good. Let's get our shrink wrap put up over it. Looks pretty damn good to me. I'm going to wrap it in some tape just for extra protection. And there we go. This end right here will go into the first spot. But again, I need to go to Harbor Freight to get some of those eye connectors. We have one more wire, and it's the second one that goes into the fuse box, and that connects to, or that is a part of the engine harness. So we need to figure that out. All right, we're back. It's several days later. I went to Harbor Freight and I bought a couple extra things. Bought some new wire strippers. I got the loom that I need for under the dash, and the little eye connectors, these things, and I had to upgrade my box, my electrical box, which I've had this for a while, but I've never used it. It's pretty nice. Got it on Amazon. I think it was like 20 bucks, but now they're selling for like 30 or 40 bucks. It's crazy. But let's get the wiring done. I already put one on there, and I sanded the motor down and painted it. It looks quite a bit better than what it did, because it was super rusty and the aluminum was like chalky. So I sprayed it with some primer and black caliber paint, so it should look a lot nicer in the engine bay. So if you remember, what we need to do is mount the relay and then get the ground set. We need to wrap this wire, and then we need to get the other two wires for here. One of them I tapped into the main wire that goes to the battery, and the other one has to be pulled through the engine bay, because it will connect to the engine harness to this wire right here. And I still need to find a connector for this, because I don't have one, and I want to be able to disconnect this when the engine harness is removed or needs to be removed. Alright, so I really need to go to the junkyard, but we're going to go ahead and wrap this wire up, and then we'll probably stop and go to the junkyard. Okay, well, I underestimated the size of the loom that I needed, so you know what? It is what it is. I'm just going to go with it. Once I wrap it in tape, it'll be fine. Alright, we got that one wrapped up. We got our ground wire connected, or not connected, but our end piece connector connected. And next we need to put a connector on this one. It'll go into the first one. We'll get that put in, and then we need to go to the junkyard. Alright, we got our connector on there now. Made it look a little bit nicer. I put some heat shrink on there instead of taping it like I did this one. I'm thinking about cutting this one off and redoing it, because this one looks a lot nicer. Alright, so I got this wire ran through. This is the wire that goes to the fuse box that will connect to this part of the engine harness. I still need to get a connector, so I need to make a trip to the junkyard for that. I've got both the wires connected into the fuse box. I've got all this loomed up. We've got our relay and our ground wire with the connector. I'm just going to ground it like to one of these. It'll actually be up here. It'll be on that one. And I need to loom this up. These are the wires that go through the door. But yeah, I think the only thing left is to loom this wire, which I don't know if I'm going to do. I think I'm going to just zip tie it up in here. Looming a wire in such a small and enclosed area is like super hard. So I think I'm going to just zip tie it up here. Alright, we got our kick plate put back in. And there we go. Zip tie that thing up. And this is where the fuse box is going to live. That way you have access to it if need be. It shouldn't cause any problems sitting over there. I'd like to mount it somehow, but I don't really know how. So it's just going to sit there. But there we go. We got all the interior wiring done. Alright, there it is with the interior pieces back in. We got this bottom part. We got this, got the carpet all pushed up. And there's the fuse box. Now on this side, the fuse box might cause some problems with the gas pedal, because it's right there. Your foot might get hung up on it. I don't know. we're just gonna have to see. But it's gonna live there regardless. I'm not moving it anywhere else. Now all we need to do is go to the junkyard to get a connector, and at this point I think we can start prepping the engine bay for paint. So obviously we're going to do that in the next video, or that will be dedicated to a whole video. We're going to paint it with primer. We're going to lightly spray the engine bay with this. It is a metallic silver, and then we are going to do the 2K clear. So that's what the engine bay is going to be painted with. I am super happy to get the wiring done, or the majority of it at least. I still have the engine bay wiring, but I'm not going to do that till I get the motor dropped in. That way I know how long, the length of the wiring that it needs to be, because I'm definitely going to hack it up to shorten it so it will like stay tucked up underneath the intake manifold. But that'll be a whole nother video, and we still got to get the engine installed. We still got to get it cleaned before we do any of that, and before we do that we have to paint the engine bay. So there's still a lot that needs to be done, but I'm glad the wiring is done. This is the most time-consuming, detail-oriented part of this whole build, so I'm glad it's done. But anyway, if you found this video helpful, please hit that subscribe button, share with all your friends, and I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you hanging out with me. Hit that like button, and I will see you all in the next video.